set. It goes to Cleary. Nathan Cleary.
Oh! Wow!
Cleary's done it all himself. What a try.
Well, he had to stand up, and he's just elevated himself from a champion. They were gone. They were absolutely gone with 20 minutes to go.
He has willed Penrith back into this.
He found space back on the inside. Harvey Norman replay. He just kept searching for a tired defender. And Nathan Cleary.
What are your thoughts there, Glenn, mate? You like my new intro?
I do, brother. Except for I'm annoyed with Nathan Cleary. It is very Penrith. I was quietly giggling as it was going. I thought, yeah, all right, Manu's gone and in comes Cleary.
No, it was good. I used it last week for the first time, and that was the grand final replay, obviously. So that was when Timmy didn't really appreciate that, bringing back some bad memories of the Broncos getting beaten. So always good to have. All right,
yeah, I bet they were.
Yeah, welcome back, ladies and gents, to another episode of the Supercoach Tragics podcast. I'm your host, Dan. Back with us tonight, we have Glenn, mate. How was your week, mate?
Don't ask, mate. It actually was my team did really well. I just didn't captain Hines. I captained Cleary, so that kind of hurt me. So I got a 1-1-2-5, and but you know it is what it is. That's kind of my season. I just don't have run through captain, so I'm captaining Hines this week. Everyone, so go elsewhere.
Yeah, no, I wasn't too far. I was actually worse than you in my score. I ended up had my captain on Hines all week, and then my head-to-head, I was getting demolished. I couldn't beat him, so I had to do something different. He had Hines as captain, so I thought I'll go a bit different, and ended up getting Turbo and got I think I got like a 1050 or something crap like that, 1060 I think I got. So, but that's all good. That's why I got you back, Glenn, this week. You can help me fix my crappy team. So that's what in the comments are gonna fix my team today. That's the goal, I think. So appreciate all the support I can get.
You're asking for help from me this year, mate. You're in all sorts of froth and bubble.
Oh man, that's it. Whenever you give me help, it works. Whenever you give yourself help, it does not work.
Yeah, that's it.
Alrighty, let's get started, guys. We'll start off with the overall group and let's have a look at the results and let's quickly jump in. So, on top of the list there again for I think it's like the 5th consecutive week in a row, the Dead Hand Gang with Quinton. He's got a smashing 1505 last week. That's a humongous score. You can't see it on this little presentation here, but he's ranked 3rd overall now. So that's an unbelievable effort there. So, and
good work.
Yeah, and still another big score as well with Amanda from Manhip at 1369. I'm not too far behind as well, looking pretty competitive up in this league at the moment. So
nice.
Alrighty, let's get started, Glenn, mate. Rabbitohs up against the Panthers. First game, mate. What do you like here?
Yeah, well, I don't like a lot in Souths, to be honest, mate. To be fair, I don't like anything. I mean, you know, truly I don't. I mean, Souths, the history of players, teams after they sack their coach usually come back and win, but I don't like their chances versus the Panthers. I think, like, it's sad because I really wanted to BC or C Cleary in this game, but I'm not going to. Hurry up. Just lost one of my headphones. It's all right. The other one's still there. Yeah, so I don't like anything from the Bunnies, mate, to be honest. I really don't. Do you?
No, not at all, mate. Only thing I do like is that they named Gagai again, so I can get at least one more week there to give him a little pay rise.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I'm sure I could hold on to Gagai for a few more weeks. I can still get some money out of him. But I think the timing of him getting a few decent dollars this week and then jumping onto Armstrong next week is just too juicy to say no to. So I'm not very sold.
Yeah, I had Gagai
in the team.
I had Gagai and Armstrong on the bench, both got over 80, so that was annoying. But yeah, I like what I saw from Armstrong, and Gagai could be useful through the bye period, mate. So he may be a player that you can hold on just for that period, and then Gagai, he's a good player. He's probably the only one that is Supercoach relevant in that team.
And the only reason he's
because of money.
Yeah, it's only because he's cheap. That's the only reason. So
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so like, there's another thing I could do potentially moving forward. I could turn Talangi into him, but I'm going to wait and see what happens when Parramatta get named their game next week to see if Talangi gets that spot with Gartho out. So if he doesn't get that spot, then they'll be Tulangi to Armstrong, and I can have both Gagai and Armstrong.
Geez, Tuolangi looked terrible last week in the lower grades. He played fullback last week, and he was terrible. I don't like his chances. I reckon Simonson comes in, but we'll see. But yeah, look, I would at least wait. You know, if Tulagi gets in that side, he could, even if he doesn't take the fullback role, he could move into the centre spot or somewhere in that team. So definitely worth holding for that reason, Dano.
Yeah, definitely. Over at the Panthers, Cleary back. Just I know he likes to ease back into after an injury. Tends to start off reasonably. It's never terrible. He always starts off with like 50 or 45 at the worst, and then start kicking on from there on afterwards. But I'm looking at getting Cleary, but I'm nervous about the timing with Origin happening very soon. I might just stick with SJ and Hines for now. I think I'm pretty safe with that combination. Your thoughts there?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if I owned it, I think it's sideways based on the fact that Sean Johnson will play through the bye periods and Cleary won't. I own Cleary and Hines myself, and I'm hoping for a big score from Cleary. A lot of people aren't going near him, so for that reason, I like it. Same thing you said around Toho. I think that I've actually sold May this week, and you watch this the week May will come out and clean up, but he's just not getting the ball that way. He just doesn't seem. It seems to be going either past him out to that left edge, where Taruva will be this week. But I like Tago, and I like Taruva. I like Cleary, and Garner. I think all of them this week could score well, and Edwards. But I think Edwards is priced out myself.
Oh, he's definitely up there with the price. I think if you got Edwards at about the 650 mark or whatever, you'd probably be all over it. But he's sitting at a decent dollar amount now. So
you'd even be considering cashing down.
Yeah, 100%. I actually brought Edwards in this week. I had a bit of cash left over in my fantasy team. So Edwards he's around. He's not far off $1 million in that team in that comp. So, but yeah, no, I think Edwards is good. But the other thing is I'm not sure how true they are or how accurate it will be. But Edwards potentially looking at an Origin jersey as well. I know.
Yeah, well, that's right.
I'll believe it when I see it. They've been talking about how good he's been for the last few years, and they have to, are they going to drop Teddy? I don't think they will. But that's the talk going on.
It's an interesting discussion between Edwards and Teddy. I mean, I love Tedesco, but I like what Edwards does. But I feel like what Edwards does suits Penrith. You know, he gets that ball on the full and he makes that ground really quick, and he backs up through the middle. Those two things I love about the guy. He's not a ball playing fullback, and I kind of feel like we need that in Origin. But look, I could be happy with Edwards at fullback because he won't let you down.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's the thing. A lot of people in the past have always said, like, I imagine how good Penrith would be if they had one of those. This is before the Edwards kind of stood out to everyone else. Imagine how good Penrith would be with one of those gun fullbacks like Teddy or Turbo. And I'm like, none of them would suit Penrith. I think the way Penrith play, they need Edwards is the perfect person for that spot. They don't need that ball playing guy. We've got an extra ball player in Yo, so I don't need to have that extra ball player there. We just need him to make his meters like he does. And he does a good job.
And absolutely, and part of what Penrith do is that their outside backs create that ground. They get ground really quickly. Edwards catches the ball on the full, he runs it straight, and he just gets good meters, plays it really quickly. He goes to Tago, goes to Taruva, goes to Toho, goes to May, you know what I mean? And all four of them take it up, and it takes a lot of pressure off the forwards, so the forwards can defend in the middle and take those hit-ups when they need to. You know, like it's incredible formula that works perfect for that team.
I don't think he's got less than 230 meters all year. It's crazy. So
yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next game. No one else will talk about too much here. I'm hoping Cleary gets an average game because I'm too scared not owning him. But in saying that, being a Panthers fan, I kind of want him to do well as well. So, all right.
Yeah.
Next game, we got Manly up against the Raiders in Brookvale. At least I feel I'm comfortable I can actually VC Turbo this week rather than captain him. But yeah, after last week, I'm not so certain.
Yeah, well, I'm going to VC myself. And I think it's interesting that Turbo is one of the most sold this week and people are selling out to Fuller. And I understand the logic behind it. Fuller is running a lot of meters, but Hammer will be back. He could possibly get dropped out of the side altogether. He makes you 140K next week, maybe, he can get you up to 200K and then fades out. and then you're not left with two gun fullbacks. He's the sixth highest scoring player still in Supercoach at the moment, Turbo. So he's still running along pretty nicely. And the other interesting one is that everyone's bringing in Ruben Garrick, which I get, with a break even of 4. I think it's 4, isn't it? I think it's 4. So those two are of interest. But the one that no one's talking about is Koala. I actually think he's playing some good footy, and I can see some big scores coming his way soon as well.
Yeah, that's the thing. Koala's always got really, really good base. He's always had made a lot of runs, got some decent tackle busts, and get some good base attack. And then every now and then he just gets that game where he gets a few attacking stats, and then he starts looking like he's getting a good score. The only thing I will say is that Manly have a pretty horrid run coming up. I know they've got Raiders this week, and that could be anything. But they've got the Storm. They've got some big games coming up very soon. I think there's 3 in a row. They're going to be hard for them to match up. So I think I was going to go Garrick this week, but I am holding off just because of that draw. So,
well, his base is incredible. The thing about Garrick is his base alone is around 50 something, or 40, what was it, 47? I think he got last week just in base alone. And then add with that his goal kicking and plus power. You know what I mean? Like he's very rarely going to get you less than 40 or 50. So for that reason, I'm holding him because I think it'd be good through the buys. He could even run to fullback through the buy period. And the fact that he's got such a low break even, I think that he's only going to go up in between that space. But you're right, 3 out of the next 5 games are quite tough ones, and so for that logic, I get it, and hence the reason why people are selling Turbo as well.
Yeah, but also you mentioned the fullback position potentially over Origin there, and there's a bit of talk that maybe Koala gets it as well. So another good that you mentioned that. So keep an eye on who gets that spot, and so you could get some extra points there.
Yeah, absolutely. I really like Koala. He's quick. I think that a player like that being at fullback that can come down left and right side of the field would suit Manly the way they play. But yeah, they'll lose a bit of cattle with Gerbo, Turbo, and DCE, which is 3 of their key players. So from that reason alone, it means that they could also struggle through the bye period as well, missing those players.
Well, they struggled last week, so without them. So
yeah, and absolutely, Luke Brooks is a sell now, guys. If you've got the chance to do it, move him up to a Sean Johnson or a Cleary or a Hines if you don't own Hines. Yeah, any one of those 3. Sean Johnson.
Being a dual as well, you've got 5-8 options there you could potentially look at as well. So
absolutely, that's correct.
All right. Let's have a look at Ricky's team. Canberra. No Schiller, he's gone. Sevi Stewart gone. I didn't jump on Chevy, but a lot of people did. So I think that I was too scared to jump onto Stewart just for that matter alone. The fact that he potentially could get dropped when Hopewadi was back, and then obviously, Kotrick's made his way back in the team with the cash cow Schiller that's now been dropped.
The problem with Ricky Stewart is he rotates. Whenever something goes wrong, he has a tantrum and everyone's out and everyone's in. Xavier Savage and Tamako are both looking really good, especially Timoko. And Ethan Strange's on the most sold list. I'm actually holding him to play through the bye period. I'm just going to play him this week and then bring Brown back in for the rest until I need Strange. But the one of interest in this team for me is Tarpany. I think that people are looking at going up to Aiden Fanua-Blake. I think he's at his max price, personally. I would look more at going to a Tarpany and using the rest of that coin to invest in another position. And you'll make those points up anyway, or if not more, if you do that correctly.
Yeah, no, I was actually looking at offloading Strange. The only reason I wasn't was because of that buy period. But he's got the 103 break even as well, which is a bit of a challenge there to hold on to. But I don't think it's that big an issue. He's going to lose a bit of dollars, but if you're not making dollars elsewhere, I think, and my team value now is 13.8 million, so I'm pretty stoked with that. I'm happy to lose a bit of cash there to have extra coverage for that buy. I think those buys are going to be where you start making up senior ranks. So
I thought I was doing well. I'm only at 13.4, and I've got 181k in the bank, so I'm a bit behind you.
But I bought a lot of cheapies, so I did sacrifice a few points to get there. So
nice. Yeah, well, hopefully it pays off. I won't be doing a lot of trading after this week for the next few rounds to try and pull it in at the end.
Yeah, that's
Smithies is probably a sell too now, guys. Although he's good buy coverage, so depending on people are going Smithies to Platt I'm going Smiggies to play it. But I did that because it enabled me to go May to Garrick, and I needed that coin. But you know, you hold him through the buy period. He's not letting anyone down. He's doing his job. He's a plotter really, but he's a comfortable 50-60.
Yeah, well, that's one thing that I was looking at too. So when I was looking at trading at Ethan Strange this week, so I was actually going to look because obviously we've got Playthrough. He's a 5'8" second row drill. So I was liking the
Yeah,
idea of going Strange to Playth as a potential little skipping rope step. So you know, offload Strange at his peak, and then it's almost a similar price. Actually, I think Playth is a little bit cheaper, for about 30 grand. And then he's got a
yeah,
massive
absolutely.
negative break even, and you can get that up there up to bring Brown in a couple of weeks if you need to. So
I'll be honest with you. I actually looked at doing the Strange one first, and it didn't quite give me enough dollars to get me to enough to get May to Garrick, but Smithies did. So I don't hate that trade at all, Dano. For a quick cash grab, Plath.
Yeah,
I think takes a buy period as well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but I think my goal at the moment, I've kind of mentioned it already. Is like I could make those trades. I had two really good trains lined up. I was going to go Strange out to Plath and then turn Schiller into Garrick. That was one of my trade options. I just I think right now the most important thing is to start saving those trades when I can, and have enough money, have enough players in for the buy game. So I think I might just hold off and not trade at all this week. So
I got 17 that play 13. Oh, actually 18. A few of them will play Origin, but it's about 15, I think, that don't. So I'm pretty well covered for that route.
Yeah, I'm sitting at about 11, so that's why. But you only need the 13,
yeah, nice.
So I'm pretty set up still. So all right, let's go on to the next game. We've got the Broncos up against the Roosters here. Good old Reece Lightning, after some heavy cramping last week, he's been named again, same as A-Ray. So hoping that Reece can keep his legs together.
Absolutely. So I bought Reece Walsh last week instead of CNK, and I was umming and ahhing at which way to go. And the fact that Walsh was cheaper, I did it for that reason, to be able to keep that 181k in my bank. And and that's what I did. I sold Ponga down to Walsh and kept the coin. But you know, I'll hold him versus the Roosters. The Roosters are very good at defending backs, but I still think that Walsh could find his way across. So, but I'm not expecting big things this week from him.
Oh, I'm liking. I think he steps up in the bigger games. Like, for example, how good was he? I know he up against Penrith, he can do really good things. He kind of is just elusive, but if it doesn't work, he tries something else. And so I'm looking for.
Yeah.
I don't see him break any records. I think he might get like a nice little 70, 80 points, which would be good. So
I'll be happy with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the game he played against the Storm, he stepped up as well.
Yeah, he does. He steps up because he's that. I don't know what it is. He just backs his ability against those tougher teams. He takes it as a personal challenge and he just jumps in. So, one other player that I brought in last week and I'm concerned about just because of his minutes, but he saved me with a try, and that's Payne Haas. It's good to have him back. I'm hoping his minutes start getting a bit better because I don't think he was overly exciting until that try. Your thoughts there, Glenn?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially coming into Origin. Hence the reason that I mentioned Tarpany. You know, like a lot of people. I mean, Tarpany will play right through the bye period. He doesn't. You know, he doesn't play Origin, so you know it's safe coverage. Whereas Haas, you know, he's going to miss through the Origin, and you don't know what games he might not back up for, or at least reduced minutes. I'm hoping to pick Haas up after Origin. Hopefully, get some reduced minutes and comes down a bit, and I can jump straight in.
Well, I'm hoping the
player I do like. Yeah, obviously. Piakura is the player I do like, right? So I actually nearly jumped on Piakura last week. And what's price Piakura?
I think he's in the mid fours from memory.
Fours, yeah. Is he cheaper than Plath?
I'd be about the same. I think Plath is about 478. So I think
yeah, right.
I think it's about 460, 450 around there from memory.
A lane to Piakura would be an upside trade from my perspective, but I don't know versus the Roosters. Although he'd be up against Butcher and Crichton. Don't like it this week, but I do like Piakura going forward, especially through the bye period.
Yeah, if you this week especially, I know one thing I will say is that you pick two second rollers there that can defend very, very well in Angus and Butcher there, so that could be a bit of an issue there. But I like Piakura's footwork at the line too, which puts people off a bit. But I think that Butcher and Angus Crichton are up at the task. So,
But we did see Holmes sneak through in that position last week, and that was frustrating as a non-Holmes owner.
I was a very grateful Holmes owner because I was very frustrated before that because he wasn't getting very many points. So,
no, that's right. Well, it's the reason I didn't touch him last week was because of that matchup. But stranger things happen. But I tell you, who's been really good for me, mate, is Manu a few weeks ago and captained him for that big score of 117, and he just keeps delivering, game after game. I love it because I want him to keep going up. So because people are going to have to buy him for the buy period, he's a dead set captain option or VC option in the buy period.
Mate, honestly, I'm wanting a lot of opposites that you are at the moment because I want him to go down in price because I didn't get it when I needed to. So and I'm going to be forking out a lot of money to get to him when it comes to Origin. So.
Having said that, there is a genuine fear that Edwards gets fullback, Tedesco doesn't get it, and then Manu stays at centre, and that would hurt me because I bought him counting that Manu round 13 plays fullback for the Roosters so that I can use him as my VC option.
Well, I've just decided that I'm rooting for Edwards to get that spot over Teddy now, so I don't have to get him.
Right.
So,
how good's Nat Butcher been, mate?
Mate, he's always one of the safest players you can get, like in the second row. He's gonna get you the safest 50 minimum every single week if he plays that edge. He's never gonna hurt. And then if he plays every now and then he goes to the middle and takes over in the middle sometimes as well. And his work rate goes even higher and gets probably he just jumps up to like 70 average.
Well, it's interesting that Egan Butcher and Seo Wong are on the bench today and as well, and there's a chance that Wong comes in and replaces Butcher. Butcher does move to the middle at some point. I think Egan and I mean Tyrone May's just been frustrating me, and I'm tempted to upgrade him this week, but I'm not. I'm resisting the urge and just putting him on the bench.
Mate, I am so frustrated owning him, but it's like you just want those buyers to hurry up and get here and bugger off so you can get rid of him. That's what I wanted them home.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do, so, but I did read something that apparently I think it was Butcher that was pretty much they said that he wasn't playing the decent NRL like from the coaching side of things, and that he was going to get dropped until Radley got injured, and then he came back and then because they had that conversation with the coach apparently. About he hasn't been stepping up like he should, and then when Radley got dropped, he actually got named because he had to. When Radley got injured, sorry, and then he took that personally, and he had a cracker of a game last week, and now he's on his way back in the side. So
interesting. Stilly Tupanua has been named on the extended bench as well, so keep your eye on that, people. I'm an Angus owner, and I'm loving Angus at the moment, but it worries me with Statilli there, Swong there, and
I didn't get Angus. I didn't get Angus. I had a choice between Angus and KPP, and I chose KPP because I wasn't sure about the rotation, and I chose. I didn't say I choose wrong, but Angus is doing really good things, and he's hurt not owning him. So
yeah, I got KPP as well, and Angus, and I'm happy with both of them. Like they're two I feel pretty safe with. I got Lane and I got Smithies as well. And but what I missed out on was Eli Katoa, which we'll get to at some point.
Yeah. Alrighty, let's move on to the next game. We've got the Bulldogs up against the Tigers. Really hoping for a high point scoring game here. So I think one player that I like is Galvin in this game. Thoughts here?
Yeah, I do like Galvin. I also like the backs for the Bulldogs, Carraz and Zeri, even Crichton. I do. Curran, Kikau. They've got some players in that side. I mean, Apo's been named, as you know, he had that back problem. Buller. There's a few players in here that are interesting pods. Stefano Utokumano, who although I think will get named in the Origin squad as well. But Fainu's the one of interest for me in the Tigers.
Yeah, what did he got? Didn't he get sent to the bin last week? And if he didn't get sent to the bin, he would have probably got a nice safe 50 by doing bugger all. What did he get, like 30?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
He runs nice lines though. It's more the points per dollar thing for me. Like he'll make you a bit of coin as well. Bateman in at lock's interesting too.
Yeah, well, he played there last week, didn't he? Lock, and he did a really good job. I think he got a nice old score there as well. So
yeah. I know there's a few players of interest there. I mean, Curran being able to be at front row is another option if you don't have Curran. You know, you can put him into the front row. He'll be handy through the bye period.
Mm. Well, Bateman got 65 points last week and didn't really overly go too hard. I think he just when he's in the middle, he tends to get a lot of work rate there, and he's at a pretty decent price too, actually. So he might be a sneaky little option there. He's only at 5.58 for Bateman. That's a pretty decent.
You know, people who are buying Aiden Fanua-Blake, you think about that. You bring in a Curran or a Tarpany and use that coin elsewhere. You can upgrade a centre wing, a 5'8", a halfback. You know, you can really improve your side in two spots as opposed to spending it all in one spot. And look, I get it. I mean, Aiden Fanua-Blake's been scoring tries, and I said last year he can't keep on doing that, and he has kept on doing it. And you know, it's frustrated me from the beginning of last year when I told you to get him and I didn't, and he went on that run.
Well, I didn't get him this year because I thought surely it's going to stop now, and it hasn't. So it's just never done.
Yeah.
So pretty much no one really else here that's that exciting to talk about. One player I am nervous about is actually I played a head-to-head a couple of weeks ago. Who's someone who had Addo Carr in their team, and they must have taken the points from the week before when he got that big 150. But I can see him getting a decent sneaky little score too. So he's my danger man. Not many people own him, but I think he might be a sneaky little big score there for you.
Interestingly, I had a conversation today about Josh Addo-Carr, and like he's one player this year who's actually running the ball up a lot up the middle. He's taken the you know, to heart, and he's doing a lot more hard. Like in Melbourne, he just stayed on the left edge and he just done that finishing job. But in the Bulldogs, he's doing a lot more of that running up, like the Penrith backs do, you know, doing those tough hit ups up the middle. So his base has improved outright. I think it's 27. I'd have to check that. I'm sure it was 27 when I looked.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure in past years it's been like lower than 15. So that's definitely a massive improvement.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, no, Addo Carr, I say danger man because I guess I'm just looking at a few weeks ago the head-to-head someone did have him and I was like I'll be fine. I'll still win my head-to-head and I still got beaten by him. So I think someone to keep an eye out for there.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a pod. You know, I bought Addo Carr a couple of years ago when the game first started, the evolution of the year with all the big points, and he was great. He got me some really nice scores in that period. But
yeah. Alrighty, let's move on to the next game. We got Titans up against the Storm here. So one player that I really like that people are kind of talking about a little bit, but I'm just a bit nervous about this matchup is AJ Brimson. If he can keep the spot either at 5'8" or at the fullback position, you can get him in the centres at a nice, decent price and potentially get a nice, good gun there.
Yeah, I don't hate that at all, mate. I don't hate it at all. I think this isn't the week to do it versus the Storm, but I agree with you. I think that next week he could be definitely a player of interest, given the fact that you can buy him at centre wing.
Yeah, I think he's sitting at 617,000, so he's still not the cheapest price, but he's doing some pretty good things at the moment. He's break even. Let's have a look. I'm trying to think because I was a bit nervous about not owning him. I'm trying to get if I was going to get him, I'd get him early because his break even should be pretty low. But I'm having a look now. I'm trying to find his break even now, but this new app is starting to annoy me a little bit. So let's have a look. Break even's 30. So it's not going to break your bank if you want to wait a week and you look at another team later on. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's not a lot that I like apart from David Fafita in this team.
Yeah, I was about to say thoughts of Fafita. He's starting from the bench, but still coming on and doing some pretty big things there.
Yeah, I mean it's annoying that he keeps crossing the line because you know, most sides should contain him, but he gets into dummy half, picks that ball up and go, and people haven't worked out that him and Manu love to do that, you know, and I mean, you'd be all over that as a coach.
It happened last week and he did it, and the commentators were like, well, we know what's happening now, but the team didn't. Like, it was just so weird.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, like, how do you not coach that? Like, that just shows, like, if your coach isn't telling you, and Fafita goes to dummy half, get all over him, I don't care what you do, but stop him. And, you know, it's crazy.
Yeah. All right. So let's have a look at the Melbourne team. So Pappenhausen, I like him this week for a decent score. I think he's actually going to reward some of the people that stuck with him.
Absolutely. I think this is a great week to be on Pappenhausen. He's even a captain option for people if you own him this week. If you're looking for a pod C, as you know, I got a personalised message from Ryan Pappenhausen this week, so I'm pretty chuffed with Ryan. So I hope he has a big week for that alone.
I was going to comment that you're probably going to trade him in this
Comment.
week. Just out of,
Oh yeah.
Just going to trade him in this week just out of guilt because he was so nice to you on that message.
Yeah. I kind of wish I went him last week. I looked at the option last week. I went between him, CNK, and Walsh, and I opted for Walsh. And because I already own Pappenhausen, and I just didn't want to trade him in, trade him out, trade him in, kind of thing, So I thought, effort, I'll go to Walsh. Look, Warbrick's interesting as well. Cameron Munster's been doing Cameron Munster stuff, and there's talk he could not play Origin. It'd be interesting. And Harry Grant had a good score last week, but Sean Bloor and Elise Katoa are the two of interest for me here. And I missed out on Bloor, and I'm annoyed. Both him and Katoa are looking good, especially Katoa.
Yeah, they're two reasonably decently owned players. So if you haven't got them, they're definitely a scare, definitely a death ride when you're up against them head to head. So it is a bit nervous,
especially versus the Titans.
Oh, definitely, yeah. I can see it being a little bit better on the edge there. I think with the feeder on the edge there, he can defend quite well. But like when they're doing all the defending, then they're pretty much covering several positions because the wingers can't defend. They can definitely easy exploit that.
Interestingly, you talk about defence, and when I look at the Titans, I look at an attacking team. I look at a team that's got the capability of putting on good points, but I don't see a team that's got hard-working defending kind of players in that side. Like literally none of them are those kind of hard workers, but Firma maybe. But you go through that side and try and find me one. I can't see one that is.
Yeah, I'd say the ones that are decent hard workers when it comes to defence don't get enough minutes. Like you got the Jolly. I don't mind Jolly if it's a good solid defender. Then you've got, and the other one there is actually the hooker, Randall. He'll defend all day.
Yeah, Randall. Yeah, he will. And Cleese Haas does like to defend.
Yeah, but it's just because
Cleese Haas as well.
There's not enough of them that want to do that. Not enough in jump in the middle there, and then they get tired. They get exploited in their defence because they're too tight. So,
if you're looking for second rowers, guys, Fafita, Sean Bloor, and at least Katoa, you can't go wrong with any of the three from my perspective. I'm still nervous at Fafita starting off the bench. You're talking about a 60-minute player. He gets condensed in a game against the Storm. I don't know. This is the week I'd be bringing in Fafita. But I certainly would be looking at Bloor or Katoa if you're looking for a second rower.
Yeah, I would. We don't want to know Bellamy what he does. He watches games. He watches previous videos and watches all their games, and he'll know what Fafita's up to. He'll be getting guys to double up on him, and I think there'll be some good defense on Fafita. But in saying that, he's the man that can actually pretty much beat that defense as well himself. So,
and they do have workers.
Oh yeah, definitely. They have a lot of workers there. So even the backs in there jumping have a crack. All right. Next game, we have the Cowboys up against the Dolphins up in Townsville there. So, Drinkwater looking like he's probably going to lose a bit of money now. Would you be jumping off now?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think Drinkwater could, be interesting to hold through the bye period. I think this is a good matchup for him. I think he could score well in it. But he's very rocks and diamonds, Drinkwater. He can have his ups and downs. So personally, that's why I don't own him. When he's on, and when he's not, So yeah, I do believe it. He's a sell rate.
Yeah, and we'll go to the other side because there's a lot of talk about this at the moment. So Trey Fuller, a lot of people bringing him in. I can understand why. Very very low break even. Playing some great footy, getting some good scores out of there. So I've seen people trying to go from like Turbo to him or going from one of the other guns to him. I just can't. Personally, I don't think that's a good idea. But I have seen people in the past who have had they've made a move to get like a gun centre wing in, and they've moved Garrick into the fullback, for example. You know what I mean? They've moved the fullback down.
Yeah.
And I can see that's been a perfect trade down. But like Xavier Savage, for example, we get him out and bring in Fuller in. I love that trade.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I looked at it myself. I thought, it's one of those perfect ones where you could do squid, right? So you could do exactly what you said. Bring him in. He's going to make probably around 140K next week in one hit. And then eventually what you do is when Hammer comes back, you bring someone like a Garrick down, you cash him up, You swap him up to another centre wing. You know what I mean? But I personally like to have the two strikes. He's doing a lot of work. I mean, he's hit ups, he's tackle busts, he's all over the place. You know, I really like Trey Fuller. And if he had full near job security, I'd probably do it. And the thing is that people can boost doing it. I mean, you get a Ponga, say, for example, to a Fuller. Imagine the cash you've got in the bank, and then you can go bang, bang, and upgrade two key positions in one go. I don't hate it. I mean,
Flanagan and Brooks up to Cleary and Hind.
So what I looked at doing was Walsh to him. I'm not going to sell Turbo for love or money, but I actually looked at the option of going Walsh to him and then bringing Garrick down, and then when it's time, sell Manu, bring Garrick back up into that position, and then buy another strike after Origin. So I did give it some thought. I went through it today, and that's how it played out in my head. And I thought there's some logic behind my doing it, but I'm not going to trade out a playing gun, because coin will present itself all through the year. Trust me, every week there's going to be someone with a huge break even. So the option to make coin is always available. We go hard at the start. That's our goal. But you should be at enough coin now to be able to take advantage of it when they present themselves, and plenty of them will.
Yeah, no, I'm going to miss that dollars, but I think that like I said, I mentioned my salary at the start. I'm pretty high up there, my salary, so I don't think I need to make any more.
Yeah.
But I definitely, if you've had a bad start to boost that salary cap, then and you need to do it. This is definitely a quick way to get them up there. So
there's definitely a few Supercoach relevant players in this side. I mean, you've got Valentine Holmes, you've got Reece Robson, you've got Fina Fuafeki, and you've got Ruben Cotter are interesting. But there's going to be a lot out of that side through the bye period. You know, like they could lose anywhere up to 5 or 6 players. And, Cotter definitely, Nanai, Robson, McLean. No, I won't lose McLean. Those at home. So there's 4. Possibly Drinkwater, there's 5. So
I know Dean played. I didn't play Origin, but he did play in the 18th man, I think, a few times. So,
well, if Munster does not play Origin, which there are talks that could happen, Dearden would be one of those options they look at if Ponga wasn't given that 5'8" spot. So, personally, I'd go Ponga, but Dearden, I love Dearden, mate, and I think he's Supercoach relevant as well. He's definitely a pod. I wouldn't be unhappy with Brown and Dearden.
Yeah, I'm one of the guys that has that Finipuyaki in my team, and I'm a little bit nervous this week because Hilam Luki is back, which is always good. It's good to have Hilam Luki back. He's had a really rough trot with injuries, but on the bench there, I can see Finipuyaki getting some minutes taken off him. Yeah,
I started the season with Hilam Luki because I'm a big fan, and he will work his way into a full-time spot eventually, and Finipuyaki could even end up on the bench as early as this round, mate. So on that alone, you maybe sit him and just watch what happens this week.
No, I've got plenty of options to play over him, which is fine, so I'll do that.
Yeah, Finipuyaki was always about money.
Yeah, definitely, Or really, besides, obviously he's the big one. One of the biggest trade-ins this week is Max Play. Definitely can't steer you away from this one. He's getting some big scores out, playing big minutes there at lock. I think he's earned that spot as his now.
Yeah, absolutely. I look, and the fact that he's got such a huge minus break even, like you're playing through the bye period, and then working well up to a ceiling second rower at the right time. It's like I'm bringing him in myself this week, so that speaks volumes. And I mean, him, Jerry Marshall King, Isako, Fuller, the Bostock, they're all, there'll be a lot of people spewing on Bostock, man. They sold him early. I mean, I still think Bostock's a sell, but we'll see.
Yeah, I ended up selling him, and because I thought what happened last week was going to be the new norm for him, but he happened to get one smashing score before that happened. So last week he only got 25 points and did bugger all. So that's what I thought was going to happen, and I think I was right there, but I just sold a week too early.
That's it. I think
we need to have a good look at the Dolphins though, because Dolphins have they play every major bye round. So
that's right.
It is unfortunate that there's not too many Supercoach relevant players here. If you get creative, I have a look there. We've got JMK, who I really like as a potential option there.
You and Aikens even a possible thing. Trey Fuller, who plays everyone. I mean, Hammer will be out for Origin, so Trey Fuller. There's another plus for those buying Trey Fuller. is that he will step in when Hammer's out. So you'll have him for actually that. Geez, that makes me look at him hard. I actually didn't think about that.
Yeah.
But I'm still not going to do it. But geez,
Bit nerve-wracking.
yeah, testing you. I mean, yeah, I don't know. Jeremy Marshall-King and Plath are the only two of interest for me, and Fuller and Zarko. Zarko would be the one I'd probably be looking at, mate.
We're looking at we spoke last week, Timmy, Roscoe, and myself about getting some decent pods in this team, and I think Osaka, we put out a big saying this is probably the time to jump on, and that was last week, and he had a pretty good score last week. I think he's going to be doing some big things moving forward.
Yeah. We all thought with Hammer out it would affect Bostock, and it's been correct. And Trey Fuller's not the player that Hammer is. He's different. He's more of a running back. Geez, he's a good runner. The way he gets under tackles, like for a little guy, he seems to just come out of him. He gets held, he seems to duck weave his way out. I like players that fight, and he's one of them. Yeah. I don't hate the Trey Fuller trade. I'm just not doing it myself.
Yeah. Alrighty, next game we've got Knights up against the Warriors up at Newcastle. It's tempting to go a week early, but I'm going to have some restraint and wait another week until Armstrong comes in. But he's definitely a much safer option in my opinion because we've got Ponga out for a longer term, and we've also got him in centre wing. Makes it a lot easier. Yeah,
absolutely. I actually have Armstrong. I got him last week. He got a nice 84. He'll make some nice coin, and his job security seems good. They do have another fullback there that I was worried about, if Armstrong didn't do too well. But I'm actually going to play him this week versus the Warriors. The Warriors, as good as they are, they tend to lapse late in games, and I think that he could still score productive for me. Gagai is playing some good football.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I had a look at him. He's priced out. He's priced out now, but God, he's a good, definitely a good option there. And him and Armstrong have been working quite well together in that last game. So,
and they did, and Marzu's going to be almost like free soon. Marzu's like last year, he's one of the top gun players, and this year he's just not getting it without Ponga.
Yeah, I know. I'll put him on my watch list actually. Marzu because I saw how cheap he was, and he's down to like below 5. So really, and I was looking at going, this could be an option. If they get a decent run anytime soon, I might just jump on and have a look and not say anything on the podcast. But then I just said that just then. So
yeah, well, I've had the same thought process. When I heard someone last week saying in the pod, someone wrote in the Podmasters, and I know who they were, but I won't call them out. But one of them was saying, he'll be 400K soon, and the other one said you wouldn't touch him even at that. And I was like, I was going to write in the thing, really, I would. And then I thought I won't say that because I don't want to alert too many people to it, because I think Marzu will come good when he finds his way into the game. I mean, Ponga really improved him, with those cutouts to Marzu and stuff, but his base is still very good for a centre wing.
Definitely. And we know those tries will come eventually. So
Dylan Lucas is the one I want to talk about. Geez, the lines that guy runs, I looked at Lucas at the start of the season when I thought he had that position, and he never had it. And I own KPP as well, but Dylan Lucas is on that right side, is doing some really nice lines. What do you think?
I like it a lot. Sometimes he gets a little bit too creative with his lines, and I think last week. It wasn't last week. It was the week before. He ran his really sharp inside line and lost the ball, but he was through the gap. When you run that sharp,
I saw that.
Yeah, I was like, and then later on he redeemed himself and scored another try with that line. No, I like Lucas a lot. He showed some good form at the end of last year when he was playing, and I was really eyeballing him for this year. And then obviously things happened, and there was Frizzell, and then there's KPP, and then he's the forgotten one, and he's doing really good stuff. He's dual, isn't he? He's centre wing as well, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I really like Dylan Lucas. Moving over to the Warriors, man, Charles Nickel-Cockstad was who I was going to get last week, and the reason I like him is he's got incredible base for a fullback. He's looking at 50s and 60s just in base sometimes, and that's incredible from a fullback. And he only needs one attacking stat. And for him and Sean Johnson scored so well in last week's game, I was so friggin' filthy, man, because I was debating between him and Walsh, and I took the cheaper option. But I like CNK. I like DWZ. I like RTS. All these initials. they like their initials, don't they? And it's Sean Johnson, AFB. It's a full on. But the player that I looked at this week who's quite cheap is Jackson Ford.
Mm. He's the last couple of weeks. He's starting to stand out a bit more. You're starting to notice him more on the field. So
yeah, he's starting to defend in the middle too, which is good.
Yeah, I like that. Ford was always that kind of workhorse. He was that guy that we had last year that wasn't getting massive scores, but he was getting solid scores every single week, and he was very cheap last year when we got him. So,
Yeah.
If he can start getting a bit more flair about his game, which he's kind of starting to show now, get some upside, he could potentially definitely a buy. So.
Yeah, no, I had the Warriors in the grand final this year, but I've watched them really closely the last 3 weeks, Dan, and I don't think they've got it. I hate saying that, Warriors fans, but I just think that they've got the forward pack, and Wayne Egan in the middle's been playing good, and CNK and RCS, but they just seem to not be able to commit to an 80-minute game. They have really good moments in games, which makes them Supercoach relevant, but from from a grand final perspective, I don't know if I think that they can do it anymore.
I think you're right. I think they have a habit of when they're on, I don't think any team can beat them. When they're on in their good form, they are that good, but they do it in like 15, 20 minutes spurts. If they could do that for a solid, even like 30 minutes a half, they'd be unbeatable.
Absolutely. And Sean Johnson's looking every bit as good as he was years ago when he was a Supercoach gun. For those that got on Sean Johnson, and I remember Tyrone and I talking about it a few weeks ago and regretting it. We went to Brooksy because Sean Johnson's just frigging killed it since. And they need him to be fit for them to make the finals and have any kind of say in it. But you're right, Dan. When they're on, they're on. They've got an incredibly good pack. They're a hard-working team. They've got some, Barnetts and Aiden Fanua-Blakes specifically capable forward. Tohu Harris, they're all hard-working forwards. But I sometimes think they work themselves to a standstill, and it tends to show late in games.
Yeah, I think one player that is kind of stepped on a little bit, not Supercoach wise, this is more NRL wise, is I love the impact of Dylan Walker coming from the bench. I think he comes on and he adds that speed to the middle, and he's a very, very good impactful player. I think he when he comes on, that's what they normally have they start really strong, and then they go off a little bit weaker. Then he comes on to get that little impact, to give him a bit more juice, and then they just die off again. So I don't know.
Interestingly enough,
you go.
Sorry, Dan, I didn't mean to cut you off. Interestingly enough, the reason that I don't rate the Warriors is their bench. I do like Dylan Walker, but I don't like anything else on there. And I just think that some of the good sides that, their benches are what make them. They bring players off and they've almost got like-for-likes coming on, like when we talk about Penrith, for example. But when you look at the Warriors, it's a real depletion in quality when players, especially the forwards, is what I'm referring to, come on.
Yeah, I think a prime example of that this year that's working well is actually the Sharks team. They've had to have their forwards. Their forwards were injured at the start of the year. Their two starters, and then they had to have two guys come in, fill in, and now their two starters from last year are on the bench, coming from the bench. So they've got two gun starters on the bench every single week.
Yeah, absolutely. Brendan Hamunueli and Rudolph. And then Talakai, who's just a beast of a runner. I agree. You look at that bench in comparison to the Warriors, and you're actually increasing what my argument's about. It's they're like for like. One man on, one man off, and geez, Hazelton's been incredible too.
Oh, I love an old school footy. He's like a young guy he's got an old footy player's heart, doesn't he? He's like zero.
Yeah, that's right. He reminds me of O'Malley. He used to play for the Dogs. Is it O'Malley? I can't remember how he say his name.
Yeah,
I think it's him. It reminds me of a Bulldogs player. I just can't think who he is.
Yeah.
I think it's O'Malley.
Yeah, remember bloody O'Malley. I think it was him him and Bryce Gibbs. That was one of the best games I've ever watched. And that was they took it personally.
I like some of the Cement Gillespie and some of them old Bulldogs forwards back in the day. Tunks, I remember all those players back in the day. So speaking of the Sharks, we're up to there anyway. Sion Katoa looked really good last week. I thought that he looked a lot better. Hines, as you see, I said it, and I feel like I've been vindicated, but nobody still agrees with me. The minute Trindle dropped out of that side, Hines would have his hands on the ball more, and I was correct in that. I just think that Trindle was impacting Hines, and we've seen 2 weeks in a row where Hines has touch the ball a lot more.
Yeah, and he looked so. I was like, I got him in my team, but when I changed my captain, and I was hoping he was going to fail. My heart knew he wasn't going to fail.
Me too.
My heart
Me too.
knew he wasn't going to fail, but my head, I was just like, this is not good. But yeah, watching the game, it's like every touch. I didn't say the stats, but he would have had so many touches in that game. Everything went through him. He looked so bloody dangerous. I love it.
There's a lot of Supercoach relevance in this side, mate. So Kale Iro, I mean, his base is phenomenal. He hasn't had one attacking stat really yet where he scored a try or where he's had a try assist, any of that stuff, line breaks, but he's still basing incredible for a centre wing at points per dollar. He's still at probably a price to get on. I've got Iro. And like I said, Mulatalo's been doing good stuff. Katoa and Raymond, their outside backs have been incredible this year. Then you've also got some forwards that are cheap in Wilton and Nakora. Sorry, mate.
No, you're right. I think Iro literally last week he did get the line break to get his score up. I think it was around 70, but that was some junk line break there. But other than that, he still looks solid every week. For his base is great. So
I do remember that late line break actually, mate. I do recall that. But yeah, his base is phenomenal.
I thought you were right with Nakora and Wilton. So Nakora, I've been eyeballing him for a while, waiting for him to get down in price. And I think last week, I think it's kind of reflecting on Hines getting more ball. I think you're going to see Nakora step up a bit more as well. I think now could be the time to jump onto Nakora.
Absolutely, and Teague Wilton on that. I mean, I thought about it today. I spoke to Tyrone. I own that left edge already with Kale and Iro and Mulatalo, and chucking Wilton on that. I don't hate it at all. And Nakora, there was some lovely little def balls by Hines last week. He took the ball on right to the line, and that little def pass to Nakora last week was just golden. And the one he did out to Qatar as well over the top, again, golden. And there's a lot to like in a high ceiling club like the Sharks for Supercoach.
Yeah, and I feel kind of sorry. I've noticed that I think they're one of the best defensive teams this year too. So not many points are getting through them. So I don't feel like there's many points to be had for anyone in the Dragons team. I think Lomax, bit of base. I don't think there's going to be very many points in this team. I'd almost be tempted to sit Lomax in this game, which is terrible to say.
Well, I'm going to say the opposite to that. Now, it's interestingly that the coach, Flanagan, came out and had a bit to say in the press about this matchup. He says, if you don't think I didn't mark this down in my calendar. But, I mean, you can mark it down all you like, bro. Your side's got to be able to be capable of backing up what you're putting down. You know what I mean? But you're right. Like I said to you a minute ago, the thing that makes the Sharks so dominant is that they got like for like. So when quality of Hamia Nualeli, Toby, Rudolph, Talakai and Williams. I mean, that's some pretty good class coming on to replace the big boys in the middle like Hazelton and Kaufusi. And McInnes has been running like a beast too, just to be fair.
Another thing as well is that people aren't really talking too much about having in their Supercoach team, but he's doing some pretty good things in Supercoach points-wise. He's averaging quite high. He's gone back to the days when he was playing for the Dragons.
Yeah, absolutely, and he don't think he won't take this match personally himself. Like McInnes, he's the heart and soul of rugby league players like Cameron McInnes, isn't he? And Tohu Harris, those kind of players.
Yeah, kind of reminds you of the old Mannerings of old. Those guys that were like just hard workers. Yeah. Did you see? End up seeing Cam McInnes' interview after the game last week?
I did, mate. He had the big black eye and the teeth pushed across. I'm like, with all the money you get in rugby league, bro, go to a freaking dentist. Like, come on. Go to the dentist, bro. Like, he's got a head like a beaten favourite. And him and I got that in common. Yeah, there's not a lot to like really in the other side, mate, apart from Lomax. Sloan, I guess. But I don't like it for this matchup. I agree with you. Sit starts could be interesting. I personally wouldn't be sitting Lomax. I think he's got good enough base, and the fact that he's goal kicking, that the Sharks do leak every now and again. They kind of lapse. They do really well, and then they'll have moments. And Lomax could find one. He's been very competitive this year.
And he's got his.
But I wouldn't be buying him. Yeah, he has. He's played some good football, and I even think Jack Burrs has his moments as well.
But as I just mentioned, so obviously Sully out with that grade 1 concussion. So Lomax gets to play in his preferred centre position this week for the first time this year. Wonder what he's going to do. He might take it personally. He might come in and go, you know what, got my spot back. I'm going to own that stuff. So he might want to take it personally and actually have an even better game. So.
Yeah, and I'd expect a few offloads from Lomax in this game. He likes to offload to that little outside wing he could pick up. Who's outside of him? Tuapolato, is it? It was Ravalava. Sorry, Ravalava. Maybe you can say his name. It's Rava outside of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that could be interesting. Yeah, that was a big hit with Seward, and it's brought up that stuff about running from the kickoff, and I mean, I just don't even want to entertain that conversation.
No, the only thing I will say in that conversation is James Graham got your back, brother. I think what he was saying.
Yeah, me too. NRL for 60. I'm with you. That the only thing I will say about the Dragons this year is I don't think that their bench is too ugly. You know, with Jack DeBellin coming on, Blake Laurie, Noah Brown, and even Murdoch Masilla, although he's a nuts and bolts player, Murdoch Masilla, it's still a fairly sizable bench, which means that this should be a very forward game. I actually don't think there's going to be as many points scored in this game as people think. I think this game's going to be closer than people think, and it's going to be in the wet. And I think wet suits Dragons more for their type of football that they play. So just keep that in mind, guys.
Have you seen Nico Hines when he plays in the wet, mate? Come on, mate. Come on.
Yeah, I have. I've heard, I know the story. I know the stories on Nico, but we'll see how it goes. I just think this is a grudge match, and we'll just see how it plays out. I mean, I'm so tempted to put the VC on Cleary, but I do that and I wipe my chances out again in Hines. And if he goes bad, Cleary, I'm going to spend all week going to our watch. I've got to wait till Hines does it to me again, and I just don't want that. So we'll see anyway. Well, that's it for the teams.
That's it. All right. So trade talk. Let's go. What trades are you looking at this week, mate?
Yeah, so I'm going Smitty to Platt, and then I'm upgrading Tyrone May to Ruben Gary.
I like it. Trades that I wish I'd make, I think, but I was just a bit nervous. I was literally bringing Platt and Garrick too, but different players. But very much nervous about buys. I think that I know Garrick doesn't play that first buy as well. So I was a bit nervous with that, but I'm not trading at all this week. I've decided. I think I might make a trade depending on my head-to-head, but I'm going to start holding off and try and keep those numbers and look at next week bringing in some players. So, captain,
that's my plan going forward. So my vice captain will be Turbo versus the Raiders, and I am predicting Turbo 100 plus. I'm telling you, this is the week. So all of you that are jumping off, thank you. This is the week that I come good, and my captain will be Hines.
Like it a lot. I'm probably going to do something very. So you go. Oh.
I was just going to say, and you watch Taylor May for the Panthers this week cross for a double because I've sold him. Like, if you own Taylor May, don't sell him because I am, and that's my year. So put the captain on him. Sorry, mate. What were you going to say?
No, I'm hoping all the ones that are being sold are going to be making big scores because I've got Strange in my team still. So everyone's selling Strange.
Okay.
So
okay, mate.
You know, we're looking at captains, so I'm going to more than likely do the same as you. However, I may change. I think in the wet in Brookvale, it's raining there all week. So I can see there being a bit slower with the Turbo, maybe not getting the points he needs. So potentially looking at chucking a sneaky VC on someone like Darlan Watana-Zelezniak as an option there.
Well, I actually looked at Manu as an option too versus the Broncos up at Suncorp.
Yeah, I like that as well. Manu at Suncorp, Teddy at Suncorp, but they both got pretty decent games up at Suncorp. They're not a home game for them.
Yeah.
Up there, so.
Yeah.
All right, mate. Anything else before we head off?
No, that's all, mate. I'm good. Have a good week, everyone, and good luck.
Enjoy. Peace out.